That was so graceful. Did everyone enjoy that? All right. Before we move on to the highlight of tonight, I wanted to go around, and I was just curious, because what came to my mind before I came here was, what's love? What's courtship? And what's dating? What do you think courtship means? What's the deal about courtship? And why do we have that? How about dating? Do you guys have that? Or is it back in the day? What is courtship? What do you think courtship is? Can I ask? Because come on, when you guys got that invitation, and even for those of you who did go to Scarborough, CLC, didn't that occur to you? What's this LCD all about? Why do we need to learn this? Our spokesman. All right, John. Sorry, I'm going to put you on the spot. John, what do you think courtship is? He's getting there. Oh, wow. Toby, don't give away any details. Come on. What's courtship, John?
Can I just make a disclaimer? He's lying. I know Ty and Alex are somewhere in here shaking their heads right now. Oh, there he is. Hi. How you doing? And that's not my actual answer. Oh, courtship. Courtship would be... I don't know, I haven't really been there. Contrary to what you say.
He hasn't been there. I wonder if you have to go through it to really understand what courtship is. I know there's some married couples in the house. And I'm sorry, because I love you both, I'm actually going to put you on the spot. Let's ask them, no, just you, sir. Okay, so what is courtship to you, Mr. Kirk?
Well, to put it straight up front, courtship is when you want to win the heart of the girl, right?
Want to win the heart of the girl. Is that right, Hannah?
You have never
It's a time to be cheesy. Very nice. But you know what? As a matter of fact, courtship is a period wherein, well, then again, we're going to learn that later. But it's a period in one's relationship. It's a little too quiet. But when a man and a woman actually go through this, it's before engagement. And they had a study in the UK amongst 3,000 engaged and married couples, and they tried to get an average. How long does this courtship thing last? And guess how long females claim to be ready before they get married? Guess. How many years, months, days, how long do you think? 6 months? Mm-hmm. No? 1 second? No. Come on. You're not that stupid. Just kidding. All right. How many years do you think the female said, hey, that's when I'm ready. I'm going to commit now? 3 years? Almost? 5? No? Less? 4? No? 2 years and 11 months. 2 years and 11 months. That's the average amongst that group that said, yeah, I'm ready. I'm gonna wed. So that's courtship. Well, then again, that's just a fact, okay? And dating, well, we're gonna learn about that later, okay? But I wanted to take this time to introduce our guests this evening. Pastors Knapp and Happy, together with their kids Samuel, who's 7 years old, and Anna, 5 years old, moved permanently to Canada last Canada Day 2013 and planted a Champion Life Center satellite church in Cambridge, Ontario. Just last November, so it's pretty recent. Although Pastor Knapp grew in Stratford, Ontario, he had returned to the Philippines to what? To pastor? 2004 to marry Happy, and together entered into full-time ministry in Cebu City. Overseeing the, where's Cebu City? Come on, where's that? Woo, in the Philippines. Overseeing the youth for 9 years. They served as both youth and young adults pastors, and later on, Pastor Knapp took the role as senior associate pastor. Their ministry also involved doing a lot of premarital and marital counseling for 6 years, as well as speaking in various universities about love, courtship, finding one's purpose, and the Father's love. They carry the heart for inner healing among young people, just like you and me, due to their personal experiences and testimonies God has built in their lives. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, may we welcome Pastors Knapp and Happy.
Thank you so much. Well, it's kind of dangerous when you have the two of us standing with a microphone at the same time, because we may never go home. But I'm going to let my wife go first, and I'll come in after her and change the story around, my version of it. But at this time, she will be giving her version of our love story.
Good evening. I'm very happy to be here. See how big my happy is? And I'm so glad to see young people once again. You know, we're very much more comfortable with young people, and we've had to adjust with a bit more mature people when we moved to Canada. But we're very comfortable with young people, and I hope you won't make me feel that there's an age gap here. Okay? But I want to begin by the way, that was a beautiful introduction. Spoken very beautifully. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'm going to begin by sharing our love story. And just to, have that, done with, let's start with that, okay? And where do I begin? Like what he said, what Pastor Knapp said, I'm going to begin with my version. And that was when I was 18 years old. Don't ask me how old I am now. And but that was years ago. And I was still 18. And Pastor Knapp had just been recently, he'll tell his share of his personal testimony, and you wouldn't believe it. But yeah, and he just came to know the Lord. He just had a powerful encounter with God. And I had already been a Christian for a long time. I grew up in church since I was in church since I was 3 years old, been a Sunday school kid and all that. But really, it was just all up to that, like just there. And it wasn't really real until I got into college. And when I was 18 years old, I was in a youth prayer meeting, and it was a crazy meeting. And afterwards, just cut the story short, while I was praying, I felt, and I know some of you might take this as weird, and that's okay, because it was weird, okay? And I just heard a very clear, not audible, but very clear, like an inner voice, and I felt like it was God, and it was like, pray for Nat, because he's not yet the man that you're going to marry. And at that moment, we were just acquaintances. I didn't really know him that much, and I called him Kuya at that time. And for those of you who are not Filipinos, Kuya means older brother, okay? And so he was like, Kuya, hi, And I introduced myself to him. I said, hi, I'm Happy. And he said, hello. and he literally stooped down to my level, okay? And when I heard that, I'm like, what? Because at that moment, I was not thinking anything about marriage. I was happy with my life. I had an encounter with God, and I was just so serious with just pursuing God as a young person, in a university. and I was meeting a lot of young men also, not really romantically, but I was running along men who were passionate for Jesus, and I really didn't know him that much that time. And I was like, what? So, needless to say, cut it shorter, this is really a long story, but I'm just trying to Reader's Digest version, okay? And so I said, you know what, there's no harm in praying. I won't lose anything if I heard it wrong and all that. And so I started praying. I didn't pray, Lord, let him hear that I'm his wife or whatever. I didn't pray that way. I just said, Lord, whatever he's going through, wherever he is at this stage of life, I pray that he will be more in love with you than with any person in this world. And so I prayed for him. And fast forward, 2 years. 2 years, you know, we were friends. We became friends, and I went back to Manila. I studied college in Manila, and but I was from Cebu. And so when I was in college, when I went back to Manila, he started calling me that June. I heard from the Lord April, and that June, he started calling me long distance from Cebu because he was in Cebu that time studying college too. And so we started our friendship, we started getting to know each other, but it wasn't very personal because I kept my distance. I didn't want to give any hints that I heard something while praying. I didn't show any clues or whatever, and I kept my distance. I drew the line, and I said, you know what, the more we started talking over the phone, and Yahoo Messenger was just new that time. There was no Facebook, it was Friendster. And I don't even know if anyone here knows Friendster. And so, and we would be chatting, and the more we kept talking and communicating, he came back here to Canada, and he would call me long distance, and you know, if you ask him, why did you keep calling, he would say nothing. And so, but then I started feeling, you know what, I've had a couple of MUs before. I don't think you've heard that term. MU? Okay, is that here in Canada? Is there an MU here in Canada? No, it's more up front, right? Yeah, okay. So back home we call it mutual understanding, where, you know, you say it best when you say nothing at all, you know, kind of deal. And so I've had a couple of that, and I didn't want to get myself hurt again, and so in between those 2 years, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna stop this because I don't want to end up sharing with this man stuff from my heart that is supposed to be only reserved for my future spouse. So I told him that. I said, you know what, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't want to end up sharing with you stuff that, you know, is supposed to be only reserved for my future spouse. And I don't want you doing the same thing. I don't want you sharing with me stuff that's supposed to be reserved only for your future spouse. I don't want you getting married to a woman and later on she would say stuff and I would say, yeah, I know, you know, and it's supposed to be something that's between you and your spouse. And so we made that agreement, okay, you know, we'll lessen this one. And 2 years after, it was June, okay, so April, and then 2 years after, then June, he calls me from Canada, and he said, you know what, I was in the park where I always like to spend time with God, and while I was at the park, I've never heard the voice of God speak to me that clearly. And he said, go home and marry. And he fell silent over the phone. And I'm like, marry who? And then he said, you're telling your version, okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to forward it, okay? I said, marry you. And then he said, guess who? I said, I don't want to guess. It's not something to guess. I don't want to, you know, back at the back of my head, I said, I don't want to guess and say, me, you know? That's too assuming, right? I'm like, no way. So I said, no, I don't want to make a guess on that. Tell me, marry who? And then he said, marry you. And, ooh, okay? And even if I knew already, it felt different when you heard it when I heard it for myself. And I said, okay, he said, can you say something? I said, yeah, I already knew. He said, what do you mean? I said, I already knew 2 years ago. He said, what? So that was his reaction, right? What? And then we kept talking and talking. I told him what happened. He said, I feel so dumb, right? He said, right? Isn't that what he said? And then we ended that conversation that night saying, so does this mean we're engaged? And he said, I guess so. And from there on, we scheduled our wedding. So that was 2003, and we got married 2004. He came back home March 2004. We got married December 2004. And so, in our culture, it's dating. I don't think anybody in your generation applies courtship these days. Rarely. And so in the culture, it's usually dating or maybe friends. Back home, I was told that from the young people that they start out as friends, just friends, and then from being just friends to BFF. Is that term here? Yeah, best friends forever. And then from BFF promoted to MU. Without a bachelor's degree, all these titles, right? Just BFF, not BABS, not Bachelor of Science, okay? and so no, they carry different title. It's JF, just friends, and then BFF, and then MU, and then it's us, okay? So there's no courtship. And so, but with us, courtship began when we got engaged, and dating began when we got married. And that's pretty much our love story. There's a lot of things in between, which you're gonna find out later on, okay? But that's my introduction, okay? And you're gonna have your time to ask questions later on. So, sorry. Oh, they have paper. You have papers that you could write your questions on your table, okay? Please try to make it easy. Okay, so Louella had asked earlier,